the ex wants to like eat dinner together and sit at a party and eat ice cream together. Like, I just can't do it.
And sing Kumbaya.
Yeah, sing Kumbaya. Yeah, exactly.
You're listening to the Nacho Kids Podcast, where we discuss all things step family related. Real stories, real people, real help. Your hosts are the creators of the Nacho Kids Method and the Nacho Kids Academy Step Family Coaching Team, Lori and David Sims.
Welcome to episode 206 of the Nacho Kids Podcast.
We're almost there.
What's that mean?
We're almost there.
What does that mean, David?
It means we're almost there.
To where?
That's the question. That's the real question. Where?
Okay.
Where are we going?
David, you concern me.
That's what you should ask every day in your step family journey. Where are we going? If it's not going in the right direction, you're in the right place.
And you can join the Nacho Kids Academy.
Anyway, what you got going on?
Well, I got an email earlier saying, thank you. You would not believe what Nacho Kids has done for my family.
Okay. Did they expand on that? Like, I want to know. I'm inquiring minds.
Yeah, they're happy.
Fantastic.
She no longer wants to run away. He no longer wants her to run away. And the kids are telling her hello.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I love those stories.
I do too. It makes me happy. It makes me remember why we do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I get one of those messages and I'm like, oh, that's why. It's like it puts fuel back into my soul.
Yeah. You know, one of the things we always tell people is, take the target off your back. But unfortunately, in order for us to get the word out about Nacho Kids, guess what we have to do?
Put the target on our back.
We have to put a target on our back.
That's okay.
It's always fun to watch the haters come out of the woodwork.
Yeah, reminds me of that Taylor Swift song. Haters gonna hate. Oh, speaking of Taylor Swift, did you hear what happened to your friend's wife and daughter?
I did hear that. So they had tickets to the concert in Atlanta.
And they got them off of... StubHub.
Yeah. So apparently, I don't know anything about StubHub, but apparently they can snub you on StubHub. But they go down. So what we're talking about, 4 hours away. So they go down, get a hotel. This is like the night before the concert, and they find out that, they really don't have tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That stinks.
Yeah, it does.
And those tickets weren't cheap. I mean, granted, they're getting their money back, but still.
Yeah, but they're probably not getting their money back for the hotel.
No.
And gas and time and aggravation.
Yeah, I think they got an extra $100 or something, or $200 maybe, but still not enough to cover everything, like you said.
I know.
Then you've got two sad teenage kids.
Yeah. So Taylor, if you're listening, give me a call so you can do like a special song on the podcast for us. We appreciate that.
Yeah. So be careful of StubHub.
That's right.
I don't know anything about it, but I just know it screwed my friends. That's all I need to know. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what this weekend is?
Mother's Day weekend.
Yes, and we are celebrating my dad's 76th birthday.
What?
We are. And we get to see the grandbabies.
I know.
And I can't wait. It's been forever since we saw those little babies.
I know. It's been several weeks for baby Layla, but baby Gideon's been the world traveler.
Yeah, he's been in the Philippines.
I know. He's going to look back on that and actually not. Because he's not going to remember it.
No, but she's got pictures, so it's good.
Yeah.
It'll be one of those things that he'll be told so much of what he did.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be, I remember when I was 1.5 and in the Philippines and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be the funny part about it. Somebody asked, one of the other kids asked something about, did he get enough exposure to his his culture over there. And I'm like, yeah, he did, but he's not going to remember any of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sure they'll take him back multiple times anyway.
Yeah. Well, he got to see his other grandparents, and that's what's important.
Yep. I'm sure they enjoyed it because, they don't get to see him. Matter of fact, this is the first time they've seen him, period, except for over the phone.
Yeah. In real life.
Yeah. IRL.
Yeah, they saw him IRL. Well, we get to see him IRL and baby Layla this weekend. Actually, baby Layla's coming Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Oh, I could just eat her up with her chubby cheeks like mine. She is my baby. Y'all know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. She's my baby. Okay. So, David, our guest today, I laugh every time I think of this name that she came up with. Mountain Mama Kelsey.
Okay.
She has been blending for almost 3 years. Stepdaughter 6, bio daughter 11, and our son 1.
Yeah, I applaud her for coming in on the podcast at 3 years in, because I'm thinking at 3 years in, you and I wouldn't be talking to nobody about it.
We weren't even talking to each other.
I know.
Well, I did warn her that she's getting ready to get to the hard part.
Yeah. It's like the terrible 2s, except in blended families, it's like the terrible 3s.
Yes. Well, I'd say between year 2 and 3 is where
Yeah.
it seems to be the hardest for people.
Although you got, how I think it's Facebook or whatever reminds you of what you posted from years back, and you used to have one pop up the other day that was like, I think we were like 5 months into our marriage, and your post just said, blah, blah, blah.
And that's all it said.
Yeah, so we were debating, like, was this because we had problems early on, like 5 months in, or was it because something you had going on at work? We don't really know, but...
Well, my mama was still alive then, so there's a possibility it was in relation to her telling me something. I was like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I mean, well, we certainly didn't wake up year 2 and say, oh, we have problems. I mean, it was things that happened along the way periodically, but it just compounded over time.
It volcanized.
That's not a word.
It is today. We'll come up with another word tomorrow. Vulcanized is a word, but I don't think it means what I want it to mean.
I think that has something to do with Star Trek.
See, here I come. What's all this Star Wars crap popping in my head lately?
Who knows?
I have decided.
You're usually in space anyway.
Yeah. I have decided to train our dogs in Klingon.
Oh, gosh.
Just kidding. I don't even know what that crap is. It's probably like a Lori language. But anyway, I know it from The Big Bang Theory. I don't know it from no star stuff because I ain't never got into the star stuff like y'all. Anyway, back to our guest. Bio daughter has ADHD and transitional disorder, possibly ODD. Best advice? Have a firm foundation and firm boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Alert, alert. Have those boundaries in place before you get married or before you move in together.
Why are you using your Taco Bell voice?
Yo quiero Taco Bell. Because they got nacho fries. The hardest part of her blending has been juggling the differences of everyone involved in the blend.
Mm-hmm.
Something unique, they have been living with their parents while their house has been built. That adds challenges.
Yeah. That by itself is rough.
Yeah, your mama just lived 2 houses down and, whoo, Lord have mercy.
I know.
Mama, if you listen to this, we love you. One thing we talk about in this interview is how blends are created out of loss. But she talks about how her daughter longed for a family.
Mm.
She could introduce a male friend to her daughter, and her daughter would think, oh, he's going to be my daddy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's something we don't hear a lot.
Yeah.
I know it happens, but it's not something that a lot of our guests have talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I think the oldest triplet longed for a family.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because he was so excited, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And surprisingly, she says, things were good in the beginning.
I would hope so.
That is the shirt we need. A shirt that says things were good in the beginning. NachoKidsAcademy.com.
I want to interview somebody who goes, when we met, it was horrible, so we got married.
We've had somebody on there that said things were bad in the beginning.
Yeah, but probably not. I mean, would you keep going out with somebody if things were really bad in the beginning?
Yeah, we see people do it all the time.
Okay, cut that.
So, David, we have a testimonial from a lady that received a scholarship to the Academy.
Mm-hmm.
She says, "Good morning. I wanted to thank you again for giving me the opportunity. I have found that nachoing is really about allowing the bio parent to parent, which just makes sense. The light bulb has come on as I continue moving through the program." I love it. The light bulb. When that light bulb comes on, I can see it on these Q&A calls. We'll say something and you can just see their face light up like, oh, and it's like, boom, yeah, they got it. Thank you. Watching the course videos is a tremendous help. Knowing that someone else can empathize and not pass judgment, but extend help through their experience is very helpful. I truly appreciate Nacho Kids.
Outstanding.
Outstanding. So, girl, get to work. You're doing a great job so far with that light bulb going off.
Mm-hmm.
Electricity. Isn't there a song like that?
Probably.
I'm not going to sing it. Okay.
Yeah, don't.
All right. So that's it for the beginning. So, David, let's get to listening.
All right, let's do it.
Today we have Mountain Mama Kelsey. Hey, Mountain Mama Kelsey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. So tell us a little bit about you and your blend.
So I met my husband back in 2019, and then we started dating shortly after that, and then we got married in 2021. So overall blending since, I guess, I don't know, 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's kind of short, but as far as relationships go, from 2019 to 2021 was our blending period. So that's when it started.
Okay. And how many step kids, bio kids, all that happy stuff?
So I have one bio daughter. She's 11 years old. I have one stepdaughter. She is 6 years old. And then we have an ours kid, he's going to be 1 in March.
Oh, I love babies.
Yeah. First boy. So we're super excited.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So how often do you have your daughter and how often do y'all have stepdaughter?
So it's both 50-50. The schedule didn't start like that when we first met. He had his daughter 50-50 from the beginning of when we met. And then my daughter, her schedule was all over the place. So with his suggestion coming in is that to have them on the same schedule, kind of the same routine, we would just both go to 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you were open to that?
I was, yeah. I think I saw it being good as my daughter always wanted a sibling. So she was always a single child. I was a single mom for 9 years with her. Mm-hmm. And she begged me for like a husband. She said, I always wanted a dad. Like, I want you to have a husband. I want you to have another child. So introducing them, I feel like that was the best route to go, the switching both of their schedules to 50-50. And we still have that. I see the pluses and negatives with it now, just because they want their one-on-one time. Mm-hmm. And if they're 50-50 both through that same time, it kind of makes it hard to separate them.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Like you said, there's good and bad. There is.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the good is y'all have a week with just our son.
Right. Yeah, that is a positive. And I do see that. Like, that's good just to have our time with him and be able to, just bond with him in that way where it's just us. And that's kind of been the hardest thing for me, as far as just putting in my mind that I won't have that first family experience, which is just, it's like we do have that with my son, but not with the other two.
Right.
So, yeah.
And even though you do have, we'll say, the nuclear family with you and your husband and your son,
Mhm.
it's not the same as the first family.
No, it's not. Yeah. And I think that was the hardest thing for me to adjust to is like in my mind, I was like, why can we not just function like a first family? Like, why can't we just have this where I feel that like the positions are known in a first family, you know what I mean? And I think
Mm-hmm.
that was the hardest adjustment for us is just not, nobody really knew their position coming in.
Right. And you have to,
Yeah.
well, I'm not going to say everybody, but a lot of
Mhm.
people have to grieve.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just the first family that they're not going to have, but also that they're not going to have the blend that they thought they would have.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And honestly, like I didn't think about it that way, but somebody had said this, a step family is formed from a loss,
Mm-hmm.
which is really it's sad if you think about it because like I said, everybody's experience is different, but all in all, a step family is formed from a loss.
Yeah.
It can be any different type of loss, but yeah, it's sad and I don't like to think of it. I guess there's really no way else that I could think of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of a sad situation as far as the kids. And I mean, I think my daughter was more used to it because me and her were together since she was 2.5, where I was single. So it's like, I think she was a little younger, maybe 2, but she was
Wow.
just used to it. Yeah. She was used to just me and her. So I don't feel like she mourned the
Right.
loss, you know what I mean? Like the
Right.
younger they are, they just don't realize it. But
Well, yeah, like my son, his dad and I split up before he was born.
right,
So
yeah,
he didn't
right,
know any different. And
yeah,
honestly, I didn't look at us splitting up as a loss at all.
right, yeah. And in my mind, it definitely wasn't a loss, but it's just like I guess it was more in my husband's perspective that it was a definite loss for him, which was really hard for me because I was like, in my mind, it was like when I had that split, it was like, thank you, God. Like, I like, see you later. I'm out. Like, no attachment, no wanting to go back, like, nothing. There was nothing there. It was a horrible, horrible situation that literally it happened and I just wanted out of it. So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
did you not date during that 8-year period or 7? Well, no, wait, you've been together 3 years, almost 3 years. So
Yeah.
did you not date a lot when your daughter was younger, or you just did it when she wasn't home?
I did date, and honestly, I think that was one of my biggest regrets as far as that time period is like I just didn't focus on I did focus on myself. I mean, I grew a lot. I actually got promoted in jobs. I got to do things with just me and her, but then I did date, but I didn't make it seem like it was something serious. It was just a friend coming in
Mm-hmm.
and again, I can see that. I know people looking back, they say you should never bring in somebody else. And I do regret that during that period, but I never made it seem like it was something serious. It was just more like we're going to hang out with so and so, or we're going to do this and it's going to be fun. It was more of just like it wasn't like a serious relationship through that time.
So what do you regret?
I guess it was just, I'm trying to think of how to say this. The part that I regret, I guess, is just that she got attached to whoever who she was around, she would get attached to. And regardless if I said, oh, this is my friend Joe, she would be like, oh, well, she wanted that family dynamic so bad that she
Yeah.
just got attached to anybody, which is, it was hard for me because I just couldn't give her that aspect. Like I couldn't do it for her. And then until I met my husband is when we obviously took that very seriously when we got together. And I made that very clear, like, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to, date so we can then get married and become a family. But
Yeah.
before that, I think she was so young. She wanted to have that stability of a family. And I just couldn't give it to her then.
Now, what about her dad? She saw her dad during this time. Did she put the same pressures on him, or was he already in another relationship?
No, I mean, honestly, our relationship was very toxic. He was very mentally abusive. He still is. He was a former Marine who
Mm.
has really bad PTSD. And I mean, really bad to the point where he would make me feel like trash when it was just different occasions, like during Memorial Day or 4th of July. He would just make me feel absolutely horrible that I just wasn't not celebrating, but like I wasn't doing the right things on that day, or I wasn't doing certain,
Acknowledging everything they've went
right.
through. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's like I never understood enough. And then he would beat me down about that. So I don't know as far as her bringing that stuff to his attention, just because she could never open up in that aspect to him or with him. She just didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah. So you meet this guy and he's got a kid.
Yes.
And you're thinking, I got a kid.
Right.
No big deal.
Right.
We can do this.
Yeah.
How did things go when you first met his daughter?
I mean, honestly, and again, I don't know why that period in the beginning just feels like it's not as important to get that, like, a bond with them for me. I don't know why, but like I worked in elementary education with like special needs students from like pre-K to kindergarten. Like, loved kids, loved work. I love working with kids. I love just interacting with kids. I love all that. But like it's different from being in that atmosphere to living with one.
Mm-hmm.
That's not yours. It's completely different.
Yeah, because you go home in the other atmosphere.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I don't agree with your behavior, but I'm going to go home and I'm going to discipline my kid the way I feel like I'm going to discipline them. Like, your parents can do what they want to do.
Right.
But yeah, it's totally different. It's just, again, initially I felt like she was younger. I think she was like 3 at the time, but I felt like she was treated like such the single child, like really bad, like such a baby. And at that time, I just didn't understand. And I still don't, because I'm still having the same issue. But I raised my daughter to be very independent because I didn't have an option.
Mm-hmm.
I was a single mom. I was by myself. Like, as soon as she could wipe her butt, she was wiping her butt. As soon as she knew how to carry a knife, she was carrying a knife. As soon as she could cut paper with scissors, she would do it herself. As soon as, like, anything I can tell her to do, she knows how to do it because I taught her to do it herself.
Right.
And it's just like, when you have a child that's the complete opposite, and you see that she's able to do things, but she chooses not to, and it's just like babyfied, it still to this day drives me insane.
Does stepdaughter have any other siblings with her mom?
She does now. They have a 1-year-old. But like prior to that, no. She just had, yeah.
Do you feel like her mom or her dad have guilty parent syndrome, and that could be why she was so babyfied? Or is it just because really she was the baby for so long?
I think it's a combination, to be honest. And, like, since we've been together, I've tried my best to just kind of, and again, it's funny because I think I've nachoed before nachoing was a thing. I just didn't know it, if that makes sense, because it was like, in my mind, I needed to shut off, to step away. And I didn't interact. And that was my thing. That's what I did. And that's why I always kind of felt like something was wrong with me, because I was like, well, I'm just not bonding with her. I just don't want to. It's not that I didn't want to. It was easier for me just to mentally block myself off. Right. And it wasn't in a harsh way. Like you say all the time, like, I would never want anything bad to happen to her. I would always protect her. And especially like a safety situation, it's nothing like that. But for me, mentally, to get through certain things, I literally would just shut myself off and just step away. Like, I can't do it. I'm just going to back off. And I've done that since the get-go. And I think, like, hearing this and hearing the stories, like I said, it just is helping me to process it better. Like, oh, well, that's why. Like, it does make sense that why I was doing that. And there is a name for what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. Just didn't realize it at the time.
Well, just remember, nachoing is not just the disengaging part.
Right.
Yeah, there's so much more to it. And, the process, it takes time. You're you said blending almost year 3.
Right.
Year 2 to 3 is the hardest part on blended families.
Yeah, I can tell that.
Yes.
We're in the middle of the storm, like the stormy season right now. Yep.
But I do want to ask you this, and you might have to think about it, and you may not know the answer. Do you feel like maybe you were comparing your stepdaughter at her age to how your daughter was at that age has made you feel like you don't like her, or you know what I'm saying? Like she's been babied. Whereas if your daughter wasn't so independent, you might not would see those things.
Maybe. I think it's a combination, and I have built up resentment, and it's not okay. And it's not like necessarily her fault because she is the child, but it's like I would bring things to both his attention and her mom's attention and be like, listen, like you enabling certain behaviors is not going to be good for her in the future. Like if she can't open a door by herself, she needs somebody literally to open the door for her or to turn on a light. I just feel like that. And again, they would back me to a certain extent and then they wouldn't. And then at the same time, like I said, the mom oversteps boundaries all the time. And I think it was just from the beginning, seeing how hurt my husband was. And he was like, I didn't want this. I didn't want this divorce. I didn't want to go through this. I didn't want my child to go through this. And I had stepped in. They were divorced December 2020. And then we started dating January 1st, 2020.
2021.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. 2021. Okay. Yeah.
So they were divorced and the next month he meets you.
Well, actually we met before they were divorced and they had been separated.
Okay.
So they weren't technically divorced until December 2020, but she had been gone a couple of times. Like she would show up and then she would leave him and then she'd show up and then she'd leave. So I guess they had been actually separated for like over a year or something. And then I had met him at a 4th of July party in 2019. And then they actually got divorced December 2020. And then we dated. Yeah.
Then y'all officially started dating January.
Officially. Yeah. Yeah.
So you told Bio Mom and your husband, y'all need to do something because little girl needs to be able to open doors. She needs to be a little more independent. And they were like, yeah, we know. And then they never did anything about it.
Yeah. It just seemed like, again, I think it is part of the guilty parent syndrome. Like I can see that. I can definitely see that aspect in it for sure. It's just, yeah, I just don't know how to process it because I just don't function that way. I'm like, if you need to open a door, let me show you how to open the door. Like, I'm not going to do it for you 1,000 times. Like, I'm going to show you how to do it. Like, let's do it together.
Right.
And it was never, yeah.
I get that. But I'm telling you, if you would have came to me and said, Lori, you need to teach Jackson, blah, 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 I'd have been like, and excuse me, who do you think you are?
Right. Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah.
But she was receptive to it or seemed to be.
Yeah, I think they understood that too, because she was getting to the point where she was so reliant on them. It was getting to be like unhealthy to the point where she was mentally not able, even still, like if her dad leaves the room, she has to follow him. She's scared that he's going to leave, or I don't know where that came from. I don't think he's ever actually walked out or
it came from her mom leaving.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been. Yeah, definitely. And I don't know with her being 3, how much she would remember. Maybe she does or doesn't. I don't know. But, and again, I don't know what they do at their house. I don't know if her mom like goes on trips or, you know, what she does while she's there. If she just drops her off somewhere and leaves. I'm not really sure. But right. I mean, in my aspect, it was honestly coming from like a more helpful, like I'm trying to help you guys to, you know, not have her be so reliant on everybody. And it was actually for me too, to be like, okay, let me show you how to do it. I mean, the one thing that she brings up to me still today is that, you know, we would go to the park or something and she would be like, I need you to push me. And I'm like, well, okay. I was like, but I'll push you once, but then you need to swing your legs. And once you continue to swing your legs, then you'll learn that you can actually do it yourself. Like, let's do it. So then, you know, that's the thing she brings up. She's 6 now, and she'll tell me like, Kelsey, you're the one that taught me how to swing. And I'm like, yeah, awesome. Like, I'll teach you a bunch of stuff, but I'm not going to do it for you. Like, right. I'll teach you everything. I'm not going to do it for you.
Well, even though she was so young, I think a lot of times we may not remember things that happened to us when we were that young, but that trauma imprint is still there.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. My daughter has that really bad.
Stepdaughter may not remember that mom and dad split up, got back together, split up, got back together, or whatever, but she may not,
Hmm.
physically remember that, but she knows that there's something that makes her not want to be away from her dad.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can see that.
And he definitely, we're not telling him how to parent because Nacho, but that definitely needs to be addressed because, in my opinion, it's
Mhm.
going to switch from dad to boyfriend at some point.
That's exactly what my point was. I said, you see how she's doing these behaviors now. It's literally going to get worse as she gets older because she's going to have somebody beside her all the time. And I
Mhm.
was like, that's not a good thing at all. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So how did the kids do when they met? I know your daughter was probably like, yes, I've got a sister and I've got a family. I've got a dad here all the time.
Yeah, it was awesome to begin with. And then, like they said, it's just like that second year. I don't know what happens. It's just my daughter's got issues as well. She has ADHD and she had a transitional disorder with behaviors. So, like, anytime there's a change, she kind of seems to act out on things. I honestly think she's got some form of ODD now where it doesn't matter what you say. She has to argue the point back. So, I mean,
Oh, honey,
yeah, like you
that's just
said,
the preteens.
is that what it is? I'm getting so confused between the two. I'm like, okay, is it ODD or is it hormonal? Like, what is it? ADHD? Like, what is it?
I don't know when ODD came around as far as that
Yeah.
became a diagnosis, but
Yeah.
I can promise you that I argued. Probably coming out of the womb, I was arguing about something.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
the joke was that I needed to be a lawyer when I grew up because I had the mouth for it and I like to argue. And it's
Right.
not that I like to argue,
Yeah.
but I didn't necessarily believe everything you were telling me. Like you had to prove things to me.
Yeah, that's almost what it is. It's like and again, it's not like she doesn't believe you when she says something, but she just has to say something. And again, I was like, okay, is this hormonal? I swear if it's like ODD, like we need to like address it, but it's constant. And again, she is in that time frame where she's like 11 years old. And it's like, yeah, it's preteen. It's like, it's coming out hard.
Yeah. You have a strong-willed child.
Yeah, very, very, very strong-willed. And I'm telling, like, it literally could be her biggest strength in life, to be honest.
Yeah.
I get so many compliments from her teachers, from people that are out and about. Like, she's so wonderful. She's so great. She's so helpful. She's different. She's different from the other kids. And I'm like, awesome. I love hearing that. As soon as she comes home, it's like, her and my husband just butt heads like constantly. And that's where I had brought the nachoing to him to tell him, like, hey, I nacho certain things and I still do that in the way where I feel like it helps us as a family. Like, I need you to start nachoing because I'm telling you, every other week it is something. And it's to the point where this is where the stormy season of our relationship, our life, it has come to the point of it's become a disaster because I've literally said, like, please just start nachoing her. Like, if she starts an argument, if she wants to pull you into something and I can see it, I'm sitting here like watching it happen and he just gets reeled in every time. And then it blows up in everybody's face. And I'm just sitting in the middle. Like, I'm a bad mom because I didn't discipline her in time, and I'm a bad wife because I didn't back him for the argument he was trying to make. And it's just very, very frustrating.
Yeah, because when you
So,
look at it, there's no sense for the argument sometimes.
no, I mean, no sense. Like, I was sitting between them both, and she had made a comment about our son saying "ma." That was her first, or "mama" was his first word. And my husband looked at her and he's like, "No, actually, it was ma." And I was like, here we go. Like, it's going to go down.
You knew.
I was like, it's going to go down just from that little, like, no, it was ma. And she's like, no, he said mama. And it exploded, Lori. I mean, exploded to a point where he had said something, then she had said something back, like, no, that's not right. And then he had said something back. And then she had like a dice in her hand and he had sent something and he's like, "You want to throw the dice?" And she said, "Yeah, I might just throw them in your face." And I'm like, "Okay, this is enough. I'm done." And it's just, again, like, he's very stern on respect. Like, he wants to feel respected.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely understand that. I don't think it's right that a child disrespects anybody. And I've told my daughter that thousands of times. If I have to walk into your school and you disrespect a teacher, an adult, like, I will spank you in front of everybody. I will take you out. Like, don't ever do that. But here, it just turns into, I'm looking at the situation and I know it can be avoided. And then it just explodes. And I'm sitting here like in a daze. And again, this happens every other week, like 5 times, like probably not 5 times, probably like 3 times a week.
Yeah. And I don't mean to laugh. I don't. But I'm picturing this in my head.
Yeah.
And I see you sitting there going, oh, crap, here it goes.
Here it goes. It's going to go down.
Yeah. And
I'm like a sitting duck. Like, what do you do? Like,
well, have you tried distracting your daughter or even changing the subject with your husband, anything, or jumping up and going, no, we're not talking about this?
Yeah, I literally did. I didn't think I jumped, but I was like, okay, we're done. Like, we're done. We don't need to discuss this. This is fine. We're done. I don't care what he called me. Like, I don't care if he called me mom, mama. I don't care what it was. Like, let's just stop. Let's stop this conversation. Doesn't need to happen. But that's spark that makes a whole forest fire. It's like, it's ridiculous. Like, it shouldn't have happened, right? So it's like all these things that are little tiny like misunderstandings, and then it just turns out into this huge ordeal. And then I'm sitting there in the middle. Oh, and by the way, because I didn't mention this in the beginning, that we're living with my parents. And then while I was pregnant, we were living with his parents because our house is being built. So we have yet to be in a house together as a family, probably in like, it's been a very long time since we've actually been in the house together alone as a family.
Okay, so you lived with his parents originally.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Then you moved in with your parents.
Yeah.
Are you still
for 6 months?
Are you still waiting for your house to be built?
We are. Yeah. It's got a roof on it. Thank Jesus. So we have a roof, but it's probably going to be another, I don't know, I'd say 2 to 3 months. So overall, we were at his parents for 6 months. The end of my pregnancy into giving birth, and then came here for 6 months. It's probably been, I don't know, it's been probably 7, 8 months now.
Wow. That adds a whole new look on things.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I mean, I know from us trying to build a garage that your 2 to 3 months trying to get in the house may actually be another 6 months. You don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know.
But that definitely adds stress to everyone.
A lot. A lot of stress.
And then you probably got the grandparents. Leave little Susie alone. She was just playing. She didn't mean that she was going to throw those dice at you. Golly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Very stressful.
Well, do y'all have like at least you're in the basement and they're upstairs, or it's just completely intermingled?
At his parents, we had like a little tiny basement area. I mean, not very big at all, when we just needed to kind of take a breath. But again, I was getting ready to pop pregnant and then had a newborn. So that was like on a whole other level of just like, I had to be upstairs the majority of the time. Like, I couldn't take the newborn downstairs just by myself to take a breath. Like, where my bedroom was where our bedroom was kind of where I had to stay if I just needed a break or a breath, or I would literally have to leave the house. So that was difficult and still difficult. I feel like, you throw your in-laws and your parents into that whole chemistry and mix of just trying to learn each other as a family, especially in the 2nd to 3rd year. It's very difficult.
Yeah. And my sister-in-law lives beside us, and the mother and father-in-law live the next house over. I can't see their houses from here.
Yeah.
But Lord have mercy, there needed to be some fence and some boundaries.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm going to tell you something, and I'm not telling you this to scare you,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a high probability that when y'all move into the house, you're going to experience another shift and almost like a reset of the blend.
Yeah.
Because y'all are going to be in your house. It's going to be your house, your rules. Well, I hate that phrase when a stepmom goes, my house, my rules. Well, it's your husband's house too, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't say that.
But it's definitely going to reset things. And I would, if you have not already, I would strongly suggest that you and your husband sit down and come up with a list of rules that you want in your home. And
Right.
I don't mean you saying, well, I think blah, blah, blah. And him going, yeah. He comes up with a list. You come up with a list. The things that are common, those are your house rules.
Right.
The things that aren't, you talk about it. Because the last thing you want is going in and saying, okay, we have a rule, no eating in the bedroom. And then when stepdaughter goes and eats in the bedroom, dad doesn't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be rules that really y'all are going to agree on and enforce.
Right.
And even the consequences for breaking those rules. What is the consequence?
Yeah, I think it's more of us trying to agree on a consequence because, again, it's like at the age of 11, there's not much, especially with her, she doesn't connect with. So it's like I could tell her I could take away anything. I mean, she doesn't really have electronics. She doesn't have anything that she bonds with. And it's kind of weird. She just doesn't have that thing where if I say, hey, I'll take this away, like
she's like, okay,
she's going to flip out. Yeah. She's like, whatever. And it's like, I told my husband the other day, like when she acts a certain way or, you know, my thing is I kind of talk to her. I'm like, well, why are you doing that? Like, why do you feel like you need to argue this point or why? Like, I try to just to understand it because at this age, I think she's mature enough to tell me like, this is why I feel like I need to say this, or this is why I acted this way or whatever. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know, me spanking her at 11 years old, like, is that really, I don't know. Like, it feels awkward to me. Like, that's not really going to do anything. Like I said, certain kids, when she was younger, I think that was literally the only thing that would get through to her as far as like a discipline. Like I could sit her in a corner forever and it's not going to hit her that she just like whatever, just sits there.
Well, and you can have different consequences for different kids.
Right.
I know David, one of his kids, he could just look at him and you could tell that kid was like, oh no. Like,
right. Yeah.
Kind of like with my dad. My dad could wiggle that toe and I knew he was upset and it broke my heart. My mom could beat the literal snot out of me and I would just stare at her.
That's it's weird. I'm the same way. Like if I know my dad is disappointed in me, it breaks me in half. Like I would be so upset. And she's a very emotional child. So maybe I don't know. I think there are times when I look at her, I'm like, I'm seriously, seriously upset with you, where I feel like it clicks with her. But we'll definitely have to make and I hope that new reset is a great one because everybody says like once you're out and you need to really figure things out as a couple again and just learn to be the couple that you started out to be. And then now it's just jumbled in with everybody else and everybody else's feelings and concerns and how you should do this. And you just kind of get lost in that shuffle of everybody else's feelings and emotions on how you should do things.
Yeah. You've got input from God and everybody.
Yeah. Everybody. Yeah. And like just recently I called like a meeting with my in-laws just to say like, hey, like I appreciate everything you guys do. I always have, I always will, but they're like, seriously, there needs to be boundaries in a healthy way just to help us get through the season we're in right now, because it's that important. Like I just need space. I need time. And again, there was other obstacles where, my mother-in-law, she does everything and anything for the kids. And it was like kind of like your guys' situation where like the mom would show up and just clean the rooms or, do things. And it was just very like, it's like coming from a good place, but then it just kind of crosses that like, you don't, it's like, I don't want it. I don't know. It's very I don't want to seem unappreciative or like, oh, thank you for thinking of us all the time. But like she was sending presents from us to the exes and like their kids. And
Oh,
it was
wow.
just too much. Yeah, it was a lot. I was like,
Yeah.
we don't have that type of relationship. Like, I really appreciate that. But like, I don't want you to send things from us, from the kids to, everybody
Yeah.
and their mom. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And I said that. I was like, am I the weird one? Or like, I
I
felt
don't
like I
think
was
so,
the
but
weird one.
who knows? 98% of our listeners be like, oh, yeah, we all do that. Like, uh-oh.
Yeah. And it's just not me. Again, the whole ex thing, they're very intrusive. Like the ex wants to like eat dinner together and sit at a party and eat ice cream together. Like, I just can't do it.
And sing Kumbaya.
Yeah. Sing Kumbaya. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's too much for me. I just can't. It just wouldn't be me. That's not me as a person at all.
Yeah. And we see it a lot where stepmom, bio mom, bio dad, and stepdad, they all get along. And that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you can do that, that's great. We have seen where it goes bad. They get along for a
Yeah.
couple years, then things go bad.
Mhm.
I just never had any desire to
No,
be friends with my husband's ex.
me neither. I just don't agree with how she is as a person. Like, if she left and cheated and did all these other things, I don't want to be friends with you.
Right.
And especially, it just makes me uncomfortable. Why? Like, again, I don't agree with how she did things. People make mistakes, but just her as a person, I don't agree with. And I don't feel like I should be forced to be included in somebody's life just because we have that aspect of having a child. Or I just, again, and I'm the type of person, I can be cordial. I can say, hey, see you later, hi, bye, during drop off pickup. But other than that, like, I don't want a relationship in any aspect. And I think it comes back to me as far as like past relationships in any aspect. An ex of any sort has never resorted to anything good in my life. Like an ex of this person, an ex of this person, or, like this girl, she's trying to do this because she's just being nice. Like, it never turns out just to be that. You know what I mean?
Well, I was going to
Maybe
tell
it's
you.
just me.
Well, actually, I was going to ask why they split up because I knew she cheated. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying my psychic abilities kicked in or anything like that. But usually when the bio mom is okay with everybody playing happy family together, it's because she ended the relationship.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is weird. Like, why though? That kind of confuses me. Like, why, if you're cheating on somebody and you really don't want that dynamic anymore, then afterwards, why would you come back and be like, oh, now I want this? Like, now I want to be involved with you. Now I want to do this together. Now I want to be a part of your family. Like, she's been reaching out to my sister-in-law, and now they're best friends, and they do like a balloon, she does a balloon thing, and she's like promoting her like crazy. And I just get really weirded out by that. Like, I just don't agree with it.
Yeah. A lot of times, and I'm probably going to take heat for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. A lot of times it's to flaunt in front of your husband.
Yeah. And I feel that way. You're spot on with that. I feel that way. And that's why it bothers me. It's like, I don't get it. And like how you just said that, it like is spot on.
How does he feel about it? Is he like, oh, well, we can hang out with them? Or is he like, nah, I'm good?
I mean, honestly, I honestly feel because he's such a people pleaser and he never can say no to her.
Oh,
like, yeah. Yeah. So it's like, that bothers me too. It's like, I have yet to see him actually stand up and be like, no, I'm not going to do this. Like, nope, sorry. And
Mhm.
he said, like I've heard before in other stories, like he says he's doing it for the daughter, which I get in certain aspects, but it starts like what's the word? When it starts to interfere with our family as a whole,
Right.
like I'm not okay with that. Like if you're dropping what you're doing and like I have a baby here that needs both of our attention, you're dropping what you're doing just to appease or to go get her, it just is weird to me. Like I don't like that.
Well, it's weird to me too, but let me say this. A lot of times
Mhm.
your husband may act like that because he just wants to keep the peace. He doesn't want to fight with her because then it causes stress and it causes problems with the
Mhm.
daughter. So that is a lot of the reason most of the time.
Yeah, and I have understood that aspect of it, but there's other times where I look at it and just like there are plenty of times for him to step up and not in like an aggressive way or a mean way. Just be like, like there's certain times where as far as like pick up drop off or something, she's just kind of finagling it or like, hey, like meet me here or do this. And I just like it's just not comfortable. It's like not and I just don't think he sees it or realizes it. At the end of the day, there's nothing that she's going to do at this point to take the child or, to do anything where it's going to affect that point of it. So I just feel like he feels like if he just keeps quiet, like you said, it's just more of just not having to deal with it.
But it could be that he doesn't care. It doesn't bother him to switch pickup locations or it doesn't
Yeah,
bother
yeah,
him. And
right.
the reason that it could bother you is because you're thinking you're catering to your ex. Do you
Yeah,
still want to
exactly.
be with her?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of hurts my feelings in that way. And then, like I said, maybe if I didn't come in so quickly as far as after they had gotten divorced and seen how upset he was, maybe it wouldn't bother me as much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, it was that point where when we first met, I moved into their house. And, I know
Ooh.
you talked about that before. Yeah, it was very difficult. Like her stuff was still around, her pictures were still up. Like there was stuff in the drawers. It was just like, I'm not cool with that. And that's why we kind of pushed selling the house quicker than we probably would have just because I was just like, this is not my house. Like, this is not comfortable. Like, him crying at night, like, I didn't want this. And then seeing her stuff, it was just like overwhelming. I just couldn't
Yeah.
process it, I guess, at the time. And then I just maybe I've held on to that longer than I should have. And then every time now she asks for something, I'm like, oh my gosh, can you just say no? Like, just say no. Like,
Yeah.
no, I can't. Yeah.
And that's so hard because I know some of the stuff that happened with David and his ex, from his point of view, definitely.
Hmm.
It makes me not think very highly, right?
Right. Yeah.
And it's because we know that this person hurt somebody we care about.
Exactly. Yeah.
But also, is the hurt coming from, I love this person and I wanted to be with this person forever? Or is the
Hmm.
hurt coming from, my child is going to be raised in a split family? Is it a mixture of those things? I know a lot of times when situations happen like that where things are quick,
Hmm.
then you wonder if they were really over that person.
Yeah. And that's how I felt. I was like, is he really even like, that was my whole point. It's like, are you even over this? Like, this is not, I was single for, again, I did date, but it was nothing serious. But I had 9 years of being by myself pretty much. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So that 9 years, I'm a very independent person to begin with. Like it didn't bother me to be alone. I'm fine with being alone. Where
Yeah, me
him,
too. I prefer it
yeah,
actually.
I do too. Yeah. And like there's some times now I'm like, can I just get like a weekend? I literally just want to go somewhere all like by myself. He
Mhm.
thinks it's the weirdest thing in the world. He's like, we're married. Like, why wouldn't you want to go somewhere with me? I was like, I just want to be alone. Like,
Yeah,
it
I need
sounds
some
horrible.
downtime. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds horrible, but like he thinks that's the strangest thing in the world. He just doesn't understand it, where he's the opposite. He has to have somebody with him. And I said, I don't want to be that backup person. That's how you feel after such a whirlwind of thing. And he said, if she wouldn't have left me, I would have still been in the marriage because I made a commitment to God and her and myself. Like, he was like, I would have still been in that marriage. He was like, it wasn't a good marriage. Like, it wasn't perfect, but if she wouldn't have left, I would have still been in the marriage. I don't get divorced like that.
Even with her cheating?
Yeah, because I guess they had gone to a certain type of counseling. And I said, like, again,
sounds like brainwashing. I'm kidding.
I know. No, but it's like, seriously, it's like, there has to be a limit, right? You can't just be like, oh, you can do whatever you want and I'll still stay with you. Like, there has to be a limit. You think that would be a definite, like, you cheat, you're done. Like, there's no excuse for that.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. They had gone to some sort of counseling and were talking about like a sin's a sin. And I don't know the details of it, but yeah, it was very confusing. And I had questioned him several times, like, are you sure like this is what you want? Like, I can give you space and time. You need to sit and think about like what had just happened. This is a very like traumatic experience for you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I went through a lot of trauma. I went through going to court 5-6 times with a very mentally abusive person, and the court just refuses to see mental abuse as abuse. But it was just very traumatizing to me to sit there and see him go through all those emotions and me try to sit there and comfort him and be like, it's okay, but I just still don't understand. Like, you're getting upset, but I'm here,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure you've talked to him about this stuff.
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah. And there's another thing that I heard that says like my life today is dictated by his life before me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, regardless of what I say today, like my life is still affected by what had happened before me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because he's carried that trauma into this relationship. We all do.
Yeah.
Not anything against him at all. Yeah.
Yeah. We all do. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day on a podcast, and I said, if you've got trust issues because of your previous relationships, it's going to show in your current relationship at some point.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But you have to remind yourself, this is not this person I had the trust issues with.
Right. Yeah, it's not the same person, and it's not the same situation.
Yeah.
And he always brings that up, like, oh, she left. That's why he's not comfortable with me leaving to a certain extent. He's like, well, she went on these, not vacations, but she would go away for a weekend and then come back and then leave again and come back. And, she would say it was a business trip, but then she would be gone. And I know it was more than that. I was like, well, that's not me. I would never do that to somebody.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Yeah, that's not me.
Yeah, I'll talk to you all day, but I need a day by myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, please.
But something you said just made me think about stepdaughter, because you said that your husband wants somebody beside him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Might be where stepdaughter gets it from. Oh,
definitely. I don't know. That can't be like a hereditary thing, right? That's not like a family trait. Like, that's...
Girl, I don't know.
I don't know where... Like, I'm like questioning it. Like, where does this actually come from? His mom even told me, she was like, I could not leave Josh alone. She could not leave him in a room by himself. Like, he just couldn't do it. She was like, that was more of a punishment than me spanking him or smacking him. She was like, me telling him to go sit in a room by himself was like torture.
Really?
So yeah, it's crazy.
Well, we're going with his hereditary.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
We are now the geneticists or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just never knew that was a thing. Like, because I don't know where she would see him being like that now. I guess certain things he says, maybe she picked up on certain things. I don't know.
Yeah, I would think that it might have more to do with the mom leaving. But
yeah,
you never know.
You never know.
Yeah. Is he extroverted?
He's very extroverted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very extroverted.
See, I'm introverted, and I think you are too. That's why you're okay about yourself.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's so calming to me. Like I said, I went to a local place all by myself, stayed the night, stayed on the top floor, ordered room service, got up the next day, just went to this little lake beach area by myself. And he just couldn't understand it. He was like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Didn't people like look at you and stare at you? You're just walking around by yourself? Like, no, they didn't. And I was fine with it. It's like, even if you take a friend, I feel like you're still kind of having to have like a schedule, or, you know what I mean? You have stuff to do, or you're trying to do stuff that they like to do, or you always have to have an activity. If it's just yourself, you kind of just go with the flow and learn to just to take things. Yeah. Yeah.
You can lay in bed and eat bonbons and watch Andy Griffith all day.
Yeah. Just do what you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, I'm not one to go eat by myself though.
Yeah, I do I find that really weird, because I tried, like, I went down to a table at one aspect and like sat there for a minute. I was like, yeah, this is kind of weird. So I got up and took the stuff up to my room and just chill. You know what I mean? Like, ate it.
Yeah.
In the room.
Yeah, that would be me too. That's that introvert kicking in, like, oh, we want to be by ourselves, but not in front of everybody.
But not like that.
Yeah.
Not like sitting at a restaurant, like really awkward, just sitting there by yourself staring at the wall. No.
Yeah, or let me play on my phone. The phones help with that though. So
they do, yeah. But still, I literally tried it for maybe a minute. I was like, okay, I'm not feeling this.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get up, like, yeah. And even during that time, I still walked around, and like at the evening point of the day, there was like people out by like an outdoor fire pit, and they asked me like where I was from, and I told them like where I was from, and it was just good to introduce myself to somebody different, and just then I could get up and leave and do what I wanted to do.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But with him having those trust issues, that could have been a trigger for him. You talk to people you didn't know, and what if somebody would have hit on you? Yeah. I learned a long time ago, if somebody's going to cheat on you, they're going to cheat on you.
Yeah, which is it's a hard concept. If somebody really has that in their mind, no matter what you say or do, I just don't know how somebody wouldn't pick up on that from the beginning. You know what I mean? It's like you can't see the forest through the trees. Is that the saying, how that goes?
Yes.
So the tree, like you're sitting there staring at, yeah. I'm trying to say it. Yeah.
It might be you can't see the trees for the forest. I don't know. We know what you're saying.
It's one of those. It's one of those things. But it's pretty much saying there's something straight dab in your face and you just can't see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So it's like, if somebody's really like that and you know that, why would you even try to pursue something like that?
Right. Yeah.
That was a very baseline requirement for me. Like, I will not accept this. Like, I'm very dead set serious on, I'm very protective of my family. And at the time it was just me and my daughter, but I'm very protective of my family.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I think that's the bigger aspect, as far as I laid down basic aspects. Like, this is what I require, like respect. I require like knowing that 100% you won't leave or cheat, because I don't put up with that stuff. Like, that's not okay. It will never be okay.
But I have learned that people are people.
They are. You're right. Yeah.
And the only trust I can have is in myself and in God.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's 100% true. Yeah, and it's hard to put that trust into somebody else when it's really up to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's up to them on how they behave. Again, you can say what you want to say. You can hound them to a certain extent, but they're going to ultimately react the way they want to in any aspect. Like, it's on them.
Right.
And I can see that, like, now that you're saying that, I can 100% see that, because with him needing to have somebody around, I was like, if I pass out on the floor tomorrow, are you going to be able to make it a month without having somebody around you? Like, that's concerning. Like, I'm not going to be
He's going to be calling 1-800 find me a new wife.
Yeah. I was like, I'm one of those people that is not going to be okay if I pass away. I'm not going to say, I hope you find somebody else. Like, not like that. I'm going to have a requirement. Like, it has to be like at least a 3-year time span like before you get to move on.
Oh no, you can move on the next day, but I just hope that the things they do remind you how great I was.
Oh yeah, that's true too. I didn't think about it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I hope you realize how awesome I was. But yeah. Then I think about, oh my gosh, he could just, and again, when I first met him, I thought he was like the best thing. We have a very small town. So if you know, like, a very small town aspect, like, if I grew up here, so you know everybody, they're like, you know, you can find somebody. Like, no, I can't. In this little small town, like, there's nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, like, he wasn't even available, but just knowing of who he was, I was just like, oh, he's so awesome. Like, gosh.
and his wife's not doing well with him, or his wife's cheating on him, and I see opportunity knocking.
Right. Well, see, and I would never approach a married man. I would never in my life, ever. And he had messaged me, and then that's where it all kind of, he was like, things are not going well. Like, I need God in my life right now. Like, you always post like spiritual things that really touch my heart. And that's how it kind of all started. We started doing devotionals together. And then once I knew they were completely separated, we started going to church together. So that's how it all started. But
so how did y'all meet though, the first time?
so pretty awkward story, but his family has a huge 4th of July party every year, like ginormous, huge, awesome party.
The whole town comes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I had never been there, but a guy that I was friends with at the time invited me to go with him. And when we got there, he just completely pieced out on me. I didn't know anybody there. I was just kind of walking around, and my husband now, he was up by, they had like a little outdoor bar, and I had walked up and he was like, "Hey, do you need anything? Are you okay? Do you need anything?" I'm like, "No, I'm all right. Thank you." And like, that was the interaction we had.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 months later, he had messaged me saying like everything was falling apart. He just like saw inspiration in what I was saying. And, he really needed uplifting and all that kind of stuff. So that's how it started.
I like that.
Yeah.
You obviously made a good impression for him to reach out to you 3 months later.
I did. Yeah, obviously. I don't even remember wearing anything great that day. It wasn't like I looked like, I was literally just wearing something like not even cute. I don't even think it was cute, but I'm glad it caught his attention, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess after y'all had met that day, you ended up friending each other on Facebook because, hey, I know you now kind of thing.
Honestly, I don't think we even friended each other. We weren't even friends until after he had messaged me like 3 months later about how things were going up in shambles, and he just really needed prayer and faith and all that kind of stuff to help him. So, and then it was like after that point, maybe a couple of weeks later, that we had actually a friend requested each other on Facebook. And then he sent me through the Bible app. He kept sending me like devotionals to do. So we would just do them together every day. Every morning we would get up and just do a devotional together.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. So we did that for a whole year. And then we were going to church like every other Sunday. We would just meet at church, and then we just started to kind of build from there.
Yep.
Yep.
That's neat.
Yeah. And I think that's important for everybody, is to have like a stable foundation, not only like boundaries together, but like a stable foundation, like a stable understanding.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like where each other stands in that aspect. I think it really helps as far as when you get in those times of just feeling like we're in right now, you fall back on that. Like, where was our foundation to start with? It was a very firm foundation, even though things are sliding downhill, we still have that rock solid that we had started on. So,
well, what would you say is your toughest challenge in the blend right now?
I think the aspect of just living between houses right now is really, really difficult. We don't have that necessarily like one-on-one time. I mean, we both work really hard, full-time jobs. We don't really have that much time outside of work or picking up the baby, or, it's just really hard to connect in that way. And then when you're always surrounded by somebody else, it's just kind of a constant distraction.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like us grounding each other back to where we started, where we did live together initially and we had a bond in that way, we need to get back to that. And hopefully with us finishing this house, we'll get back to that point and be able to take a deep breath and reset each other. But it's been very difficult living between homes, especially being pregnant. I can say hormonally.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I literally, this sounds really horrible. Like, I sat outside of a grocery store and just like cried, like ugly cried for about 2 hours, like never made it into the grocery store.
Oh no.
And my husband called me and he's like, "Where are you? Are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't know what's wrong." I was like, "I'm just sitting here. I'm just thinking about how important it is to have a house and a home and like to feel like you're like it's your own." I was like, "We don't have that." Like, it's really depressing. Like, it's a part of your identity, your house, your home.
Yeah.
the way you like things, the way things to look, the way things to smell. Like it's very important. And being quote unquote homeless, I don't like saying that because there are people that are generally homeless,
Right.
like I cannot imagine just not having that piece of yourself is just gone. It just kind of, it's sad and it's hard, especially in a split home.
Yeah. Well, you're with your parents now, right?
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Would your parents watch the baby one night when y'all don't have the other kids and y'all go out to eat?
They definitely would. And it's not like we have had that opportunity before, but then, life happens where the baby's been sick or, this child needed to come back or this happened. It's always something. But yeah, that's one thing that we have said, that we need to make it a priority to kind of step away, just us.
Yes.
We need to step out of the house, do a date night. I think, again, I am an introvert and I would rather just stay home. Like, I don't want to deal with all that crap. I don't want to deal with being out and dealing with dressing up,
Yeah, okay. I might be a hypocrite when I'm telling you this now that I say because Dave will say, let's go out to eat. And I'm like, no, let's just go pick something up.
That's how I am. And like, even pre-COVID, I was like, let me make you like a special dinner. Like, let me like put like special candle lights. Like, that made it any different, like just because I put candles around the table doesn't make it any different from just like a regular dinner. Yeah. So I need to reset my mind to be able to take that deep breath, get out, and then do something together, just us, and then come back and be able to deal with the everyday craziness. But
one thing I do like doing, and it's probably because I don't have to dress up, David and I will, when the weather's right, we'll go to yard sales on Saturday morning.
Oh yeah, that's really fun to do. I like doing that.
Yeah, and we'll just bounce around. A lot of times we don't even know where they are. We just ride around. And then we'll go eat breakfast. And that's it.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. Yeah.
And that's much more my speed than, let's get dressed up and drive an hour to go eat at this restaurant.
Right. Yeah. That's not me. Like, I don't like doing that stuff. But yeah, as far as that, the only thing I was thinking about was like, does David let you like actually get stuff when you're there or no?
Oh yeah. We found all kind of stuff. Yeah. We are very, we get very excited when we get deals.
Yeah, that's how I am. I get stoked when I find a really good deal.
I got this handheld pressure washer for like $10. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, we have used that thing like crazy. And we always say that was our best yard sale find.
Yeah, especially when you find something and you actually use it. You know what I mean? You keep saying like, this was like a legit deal. Like, this was awesome, because then you use it and it actually is, you get the use out of it.
Yeah, it's not just crap going from their house to your house.
Right, exactly.
That does happen too, though, I will say.
Yeah. No, that always happens at some point. But yeah, every time I try to go like to a place like that with him, he tells me I can't get anything. And then I get in a mood. That's not cool.
Oh, no, don't tell me I can't get anything. No.
I should at least have like a dollar limit, right? I can at least get like something $20, right?
Yeah.
$20, that's your limit.
And a good yard sale for $20, you could fill the car up.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a compromise right there. I think that's a really good compromise.
Yeah, we went to this one yard sale and the guy was asking, I don't know, like $40 for this Tupperware thing. And I said, apparently you haven't been to many yard sales. Well, that's a good price. Right. And I said, I understand how expensive Tupperware is. And no, that's not a bad price, but that's not a yard sale price.
That is not a yard sale price. Yeah. No, not by far.
Now, see, David likes to go to the auction. And he'll go.
Oh, that's what we do. Yeah, that's our thing. It's like an online auction now. So you don't like technically you can go look at the stuff, but they have it online. So you can just scroll through the stuff and then you can bid it up to like, I got brand new stuff the other day, like for $5. I was so happy with myself.
And then you just go pick it up?
I go pick it up. Yep.
I might not need to know about that.
I can give you the website if you want.
Well, I'm probably not close enough to go pick it up.
No, but they have some in your state. They pick whatever auction is in your state.
Yes, send me the link. Send me the link.
Yeah. You can tell me about your deals and then I can tell you about what I got. Yeah.
I won't go to the auction because it's crowded. I might see
It's a lot.
something that I want, and I'm not keen on sitting somewhere for 2 hours waiting on anything.
No. Yeah. Yeah. And then you have to go through like they'll throw the paddles up or whatever, and they always bid it up, and then you have to stand there and hold your paddle. Like, no, you don't have to do any of that stuff.
Yeah, we went one time. I have been a few times. We went one time and there was this pallet sale. So basically it's a pallet of stuff. And I said, okay, I want that one pallet because it had a lot of stuff, like office stuff. Well, I'm not very tall. And apparently David walked off, maybe went to the bathroom. And I thought they were pointing to the pallet I wanted. And so I kept bidding on it. And it wasn't the palette I wanted.
Oh, no.
However, I was able to sell the things that I got and make like $50.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
Yeah.
That's good.
It worked out. But yeah, I just don't. And David's like, no more you holding the number.
I know. I've heard that so many times. We go to a Ducks Unlimited dinner and they do that. And he always tries to steal my paddle away.
Yes.
I'm like, no. Yeah.
Yeah, but that stuff's not cheap. Yeah.
It's not. No.
Mm-hmm. But do that stuff. I mean, find time for yourself with him because y'all need that.
Yeah, we definitely do. That's been one of our goals, like priorities wise, especially through this crazy time. Like it's a priority. We have to set aside time, even if it's like once every 3 weeks or once every month or 2 times a month would be great. Honestly, would be great. Yeah, that's a goal. That's a goal of ours right now.
And I don't know about you, but like I don't even like going to the movies. I'm like, it's too expensive. You can go get
I literally
Redbox.
just said that. Yeah, the other day I was like, I'm not gonna sit, and it's not even like I haven't seen a good movie, like a good movie that I would want to see. You know, not like so like spending that and then going and just sitting and just being quiet the whole time. Like I'll try to talk to him about stuff and like, stop, you got to be quiet. I'm like, no, I want to talk to you. Like I want to talk to you about like what's going on right now.
Oh, goodness.
Not acceptable. You can't do that.
Yeah, David will say, just watch the movie.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's me. Like it's not fun.
Yeah, I'll say, well, who's that person? Where'd they come in? He's like, watch the movie. But David likes
just wait till the end.
Yeah, like the Marvel Avenger crap or whatever. I don't even go. He goes by himself.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. 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 The movies aren't my thing.
Mm-mm. But you can find things that, y'all do enjoy doing together. So
yeah, definitely. We're going to definitely make that a priority. Like I said, that's one of the goals. And then just trying to move forward. That's what I told when we had that family discussion. I said, my focus is moving forward. Like if you continue to look back and back and back, it's just, you can't continue to move forward. So we need to leave anything as far as deciding about what to send to the exes, how we're going to act or react with the exes, if you're trying to text the exes, like that doesn't need to happen. Like let us do those things. We're going to try to build each other up as a couple, as a family, and then move forward. Because like I said, it's just very difficult. And it's difficult for me. Like I need to have a funeral in my mind about having that first family. And then just realizing that, there will always be an ex involved, which drives me insane. Nobody wants a baby mama. Nobody wants to have to deal with an ex. And I don't want that in my life. And it's very difficult for me to be able to move forward in my mind when I'm continually like thinking about those things. You know what I mean? When I thought about it, it actually made me cry. Like I literally had a funeral in my head. Like this is making me really upset right now. Maybe I just need time to process it more, but I just don't think I even thought about it that way. You know what I mean? Like I never thought about that I literally in my mind and my brain have to have a funeral for not having that first family experience. It won't be that same. It won't be the same.
Yep.
Before I felt like I needed to defend myself.
Yep.
I always defended my daughter. Like my daughter was my main priority. I needed to make sure she was safe and I defended her always. And I always will. But it's like your brain switches to, I have to reply. And I think it was like a lawyer that I had said, like, he should not be addressing you in that manner, regardless if he's your ex or regardless of who he is. And you can state that very clearly to him and then just don't don't respond. She was like, you have no responsibility to respond to him. Obviously, if it's like a medical problem or
a school
an
issue
emergency, yeah. Then you respond. But it's like, again, it's just like how she or my husband gets pulled into those conversations. And it's like, you get pulled into it. And then once you get pulled into it, it just kind of escalates and gets worse. But like you said, our communication is very limited. And what it is, like you said, it's always something crazy or it's something like I did something wrong or it's my fault or it's always that way. And where I struggle is my husband and his ex, it's like they're best friends. Like they text all the time. They talk to each other. They call each other. It's like open book conversation. And me, I'm like, no, like very protective, very protective of my family, my bubble. Like, I don't feel it's right that you have open, and he says it doesn't happen that way, but it does. It's not how me and my ex communicate. Should he have to have that relationship where he's saying, well, I shouldn't have to not have that relationship because you don't have that relationship.
Right.
And I was like, well, I'm not saying that, but there should be a boundary though, right?
You kick into, well, if y'all get along so dang well, then get back together.
Well, that's what my point is. Like, how are you guys communicating so well? Like, you're so put together. Every time there's a discussion or issue, it's so like best friend. Okay, cool. Smiley face, thumbs up. Like, it's always like very, and again, I shouldn't be jealous or hating on that.
That's what I was going to say is maybe we're just jealous.
I don't know, but it's like in my mind, I'm like, no, like he's not in my life anymore. Yeah, we have a child, but there's a boundary. Every time I have an issue, I bring it to my current husband's attention, or anytime there's something, I bring it to him first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's always my first go-to. It's not, oh, hey, let me reach out to this other person. And then we'll have an open discussion about it. And then we'll, bring you in or whatever. But it's just, I don't know. It maybe isn't like that, but.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that you can message your ex and say, little Johnny's struggling with math. And it turns into, well, if you didn't blah, 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 or.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. It turns into, look, I was trying to communicate with you that our son or daughter is struggling in math and just wanted to make you aware of it. And it turns into the bash Lori thing. No, I'm done.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it's literally that discussion. Like I've had that discussion before. She struggles so bad in math, like really bad. To the point where she's like a couple points away from almost being like on the range of being like learning disabled in math. But it's like the blame game. And it's like, I'm literally a simple discussion that shouldn't be turned into anything, turns into why, like, what are you not doing right? Why are you not doing this with her? Why? Like, it shouldn't be that way.
Yep. And as far as your ex and his ex getting along great, again, that's great. But you have to feel comfortable with it too. I remember watching Dr. Phil years and years ago, and this guy was chatting online with other girls. And Dr. Phil said, why do you do it? And he said, just for fun. And he said, but your wife doesn't want you doing that. It hurts her.
Right.
He said, but the guy goes, but there's nothing wrong with it. I don't see anything wrong with it. He said, what you need to see wrong with it is your wife has a problem with it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's my thing. It's like, I don't want you not to communicate, but like, just realize that you have a wife and a new family now. Like, and that also there shouldn't be that much communication between, like, I get doctor's appointments. I get if there's a school function and something happened, but you know what I mean? There's stuff we can take care of that as a couple. Unless there's like a doctor's appointment or she has to pick her up at a different time. Like that should be the realm of the communication, right?
Right.
I mean,
I bought this pair of underwear from Victoria's Secrets today.
Yeah. Right. Like, hey, like you want to, like, no, like that's not I don't ever see that being, and again, maybe I'm just being closed-minded. I just don't ever see that being okay to me. I don't,
Yeah.
it bothers me. Like you said, it's like in the back of your mind, it's like, well, why did you guys, I get why they separated because he couldn't accept that she had left and cheated or whatever she did. But if you guys get along that great, like we get in more arguments than what they do. Like, like if you guys get along that great, I just, in the back of my mind, it's just really hard for me. Like
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. I remember
Yeah.
one time David was talking to his ex, and this was when we were dating. And I don't remember what they were talking about, but I'm thinking, they sound pretty chummy.
Yeah.
And after about 15, 20 minutes, I'm thinking, I need to go to my house.
Right.
And so I told him, I said, I'm going to go ahead and go to my house. And he said, okay, I'll be there shortly. On the way home,
gosh.
I'm thinking, if he's more than 10 minutes behind me, I'm done.
Right.
That's my sign.
No, I don't blame. Yeah, I don't blame you.
And he ended up
At
getting
all.
there 3 minutes after I did or something like that. But I did tell him, I said,
Yeah.
I'm sitting there thinking, man, y'all get along well. But a lot of people will say they get along better after they split up.
Which is weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's weird to me. I don't know why.
Well, maybe with you and I, we've had bad prior relationships to where we don't want anything to do with these people. So it's hard for
like
us
nothing.
to understand how you want to talk to your ex about anything that you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what I have a really hard time processing. And I don't know how to explain that to him because then he automatically just says, oh, why don't do that? Or this isn't what's happening.
Or he thinks you're jealous.
Yeah, or you shouldn't think that way. And he has thrown the jealousy thing at me a couple times. And I'm like, but I'm not jealous of her. I wouldn't want her life. Being that person, I would never want that.
Right.
Ever. That's not me. That's not who I represent. I would never want her life or how she lives or what she has right now. I'm not jealous of that one bit. It's just the fact that, we could sit here and argue over butter and then you turn around and it's like, oh, hey, cool, high five. Like there's no conflict. There's no conflict. I'm like, how?
Yeah, they're all snotty with you and then the ex calls and they're like, hey.
Yeah, exactly.
And you call and they're like, what?
I know, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, we need to tell our listeners, if anybody is listening to this and you are the ex, that you and your ex get along great and y'all have this chummy relationship, you need to be a guest on our podcast so you can help Kelsey and I understand.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I just need that other aspect of like where that comes from.
Yeah.
For me, it just doesn't click. And like you said, maybe it's just our realm of it, how we see like we don't want any involvement at all. There's nothing that I want to communicate about, period.
Right.
Like unless there's emergency, I don't want a text. I don't want a text message. I don't want a phone call. I don't want to communicate.
Right.
And I feel like that's normal. I feel like I'm moving on with my family. I'm moving forward.
Yeah.
I'm not still being involved with something where we can handle as a couple. I'll always go to him and be like, okay, well, what do we need to do in this situation? Or she needs to do. Yeah.
But some people will say, I'm good at playing devil's advocate, but it's best for the children if the parents can get along. I 110% agree.
I do. And like I said, I still feel like there needs to be a boundary though.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, again, not at any point when they showed up and I'm outside and they're picking up, when they pick her up, am I never just like snotty nose, don't look, don't care. If she says hi, I will always say hi back. I will always, talk if she addresses me. But other than that, like, I don't feel like I should have to fake that behavior.
Oh, definitely.
In any way. And we did have a situation where we had went to a wedding that they were going to be at. So his ex and his ex's husband now, who I went to high school with, and that's a whole other story. So they were at the wedding that we were going to, and I like made my boundaries very clear before we got there. I'm cool if we go over, say, hey, how are you doing? If your little girl wants to go over, say hi and sit for a minute and then come back and eat with us, cool. but I'm not gonna sit and eat with them. I'm not gonna like sit and be their best friends. We're not gonna, like I was setting my own personal boundary, I guess, and
Yeah.
just seeing if he would be like, okay, I understand, which he did. Well, when we got there, that all went out the window. Like the ex-wife was trying to come sit at our table, had asked the little girl to ask us if she could sit at our table. And then she came, there was 200 people at this wedding, Lori, 200 people. She comes over to us. It's like, oh, hey, I want a picture before you guys take her home. So she hands her phone to us for us to take their family picture together.
What?
Yeah. And I was just really thrown off. I was like, I am not taking their picture. Like I stood back, like, nope, I'm not doing it. My husband didn't know what he was holding on to the phone. He's like, I felt so awkward. Like I didn't know what to do.
Smile.
He's like, I just took their picture.
Yeah.
He just took their picture. It was like, it's just so weird to me. I don't know. Maybe I did handle that situation wrong, but I felt like that was really weird to me.
Yeah. Well, Kelsey, I have got to let you go, girl.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know.
That's okay. No, don't apologize. I have really enjoyed talking to you, and
I have too.
We'll have to do this again. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Once you move in your house.
Yes.
Let's say, give it a couple of months to get things settled and calm.
Mm-hmm.
I want you back so we can see how things have changed since then.
Awesome. Yeah. I was going to say, I want to be the person that comes back on with you and shares all the inspiration, all the positives, all the overcomings that we've been through, to be like, yes, I am the one that went through that stormy season and we made it out.
Yes.
I want to be that guest that comes back and has that.
Well, I would love for you to be that guest.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Lori.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You know, when I said Mountain Mama Kelsey, I had to say it Southernese.
Do you know any other way to say it?
Yeah. I can speak Northern and British and
You can
Taco
speak
Bell.
Northern. You can't speak Northern.
I can. Mountain Mama Kelsey.
Yes. Oh, I don't know what that is. It sounds like Northern Georgia.
I needed somebody from the North to get on here and say, Mountain Mama Kelsey for me. Yeah, that's not how they talk. Okay, so I can't do Northern. Well, I can do Yuns.
It's not Northern.
It is. It's Ohio.
It's not North.
Ohio is north of me. I was thinking the other day, and y'all, I don't know how I ever got anywhere without GPS. I really don't. I remember driving to New Jersey and Delaware and Pennsylvania and Florida and Ohio and all these places without GPS. And I have no idea how I did it.
You didn't use maps?
I think I went to Yahoo Maps and printed the directions. I suck with a map because there's no "you are here."
No, we had the big maps. Like you go to the convenience store.
Well, that's
and
what I'm
you
talking
buy
about.
the map.
That's what I'm talking about. I don't know how. I mean, I understand and know how to use a map, but I don't know where I am on the map. I can find myself, but am I north, south, east, or west of there? Who knows?
You just look at the little dot moving.
It's not moving on the paper, David. We went somewhere on vacation or a weekend trip, and I thought it was funny. We went to the gas station, and they still had maps.
Mm-hmm.
But they were dusty, and you could tell nobody had bought one since 1998. But yeah, because when I look at a map, it doesn't say, Lori, you are here.
So that's what they should do. Like every map place they sell, that it should have a "you are here" spot.
Well, I guess I need a compass with me. That's what I need. I need a map with a compass.
A compass?
Well, I don't know if I'm facing north, south, east, or west. Do you?
You just look at the road.
But if I don't know if I know that I'm at the corner of such and such and such and such,
mm-hmm.
that doesn't help me figure out if I'm facing one way or the other. I get confused with GPS on which way to go.
You just go to the next intersection, and then now you know which way you're going.
Oh. Okay. But anyway, anybody else ever think about that stuff? Like, how did we do that?
I recall. how I did it.
And how did we sit in a doctor's office without a phone to distract us from the other people sitting there?
They had all those magazines sitting there. And I looked through every single one of them.
I thought about that the other day, too. You know how long it's been since I picked up a magazine other than to throw it in the trash?
Yeah.
Those were the good old days. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yep. And 10 years from now, today will be a good old day.
All right, write that down, folks. 10 years from now, you will think that 2023 was a good day.
Remember the good old days back in 2023? You know, when we had podcasts?
That's what the kids will be saying.
I
I remember the first time you said podcast to me, I'm like, what in the crap is that? And I don't even remember what you told me, but in my mind, I translated it to radio that anybody can be on.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But it's exploded now, which is funny because people still think it's new. I'm like, no, been around a really long time.
And surprisingly, a lot of people still don't know about it.
I know, which is kind of good, kind of not.
Depends on who you are.
If you don't know about it, it sucks. Be you.
Yes. David,
I love
no,
podcasts.
I can't believe I said yes to that.
I love podcasts. I mean, since I discovered podcasts years and years ago, I very seldom listen to the radio anymore because I can choose what I listen to.
Well, I was listening to YouTube videos and you told me not to do that anymore because it takes too much of our data.
Yeah, it's sucking up all the data.
But the podcasts aren't as good. Some of them are.
You're not supposed to watch them while you're driving.
No, I don't watch them. It's just I like the true crime stuff. So like the 48 hours, you know, so-and-so was killed. Who did it? And I mean, I listen to Crime Junkie, but it's just not as, I don't know. No, Hidden Brains, I like.
Yep.
And that reminds me, I know I'm on a tangent. Imagine that. That last Hidden Brain one that you sent me about memory, that guy lost, what, $2 billion? Or $2 million? It was $2 billion, I'm sure. You remember that part?
Nope.
You don't remember that part?
Nope. Remind me.
His crypto code.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now I remember.
He had 10 tries before it locked him out forever, and he lost that money.
Yep.
And he lost it, y'all.
Yep, because he thought he could remember his password, so he never wrote it down.
Yep.
And then when he tried to get back into his crypto wallet, because, you know, he bought it when it was cheap, then he had over $2 billion worth of crypto.
I'm pretty sure it was $2 billion, but anyway.
Yeah. And then he couldn't get into his crypto wallet because he forgot his password.
Can you imagine how that guy feels?
He feels like a billionaire that never was.
I would think that he's very depressed. Like he wakes up every morning.
Yep. Yeah, but do you feel like you lost it because you never had it kind
but
of thing?
But he had it.
But he didn't.
I don't know.
You see what I'm saying? Like he wasn't living the lifestyle and had all the stuff and then lost the money. I mean, he just kind of, he had something that was worth it. He just couldn't find it.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
Yeah, it is.
Dude, if you're listening to this podcast, we're sorry. And no, the password you're thinking it was is still not it.
It don't matter anymore. Like he can't even try anymore.
I know, and he can't call anybody.
Nope.
Oh, man, that's horrible. That's horrible. That upset me so much for him. That's like getting a lottery ticket and scratch it off and you've won $2 billion and you go to cash it and the place that you cash it has shut down forever.
No, you go to cash it.
And it closed 10 minutes before you got there.
No, you go to cash it and you realize that you can't find it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That would probably be something about, that would happen to me. Look, I know I put it right here.
Just to show our memory is not the best, and not just ours, everybody's. Write stuff down, but don't write it in a password book.
What's amazing is how much we actually forget. They covered that in the show. They also said like trying to be intentional about remembering things doesn't usually work.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. But of course, the more you practice that memory,
Mm-hmm.
there was a book I read. I can't remember. It's like Walking on the Moon or something like that. But it's a book that's supposed to help with your memory. So it says, when you're walking to the mailbox, picture that as you're going to get broccoli or something. And so you relate it to things that help you remember.
Yeah. I think it's anything that's so different that stands out that you can tie it to. Like, you don't forget things that happened in your life that were crazy or very traumatic. You know, even if it's not traumatic to you, it's just a traumatic event.
Right. But according to the memory experts, that memory of that traumatic event may not be accurate.
I know. Did you hear the part where they said they went back and asked people like 3 years later after they first questioned them on something?
Yeah, like September 11th.
Yeah, they're like, what were you doing on September 11th? And this was just like a few months after. And they gave an answer. And then they waited 3 years later and they went back to ask the same people the same question. What were you doing on September 11th? And like 60% of them gave a completely different answer.
That shocks me. Because I can still tell you what I was doing September 11th. And I know it's the same thing I would have told them originally.
But here's the thing. When they went back to the 60% and said, this is not what you told us, here's the paper that you wrote down what you said you were doing.
And your handwriting.
Yeah. And they said, well, that's my handwriting, but I don't know why I would have said that because that's not accurate.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
And we know a lot of times we talk about things that we've talked about before, but we do that to help you remember them. They say somebody needs to hear something 7 times. Is that right?
I think it's 37 times.
I think it used to be 3, but now it's 7 to remember something or for it to click.
My mom always told me, I've told you that for the 40th time. So I'm thinking that's how many times it takes.
Maybe. Maybe. But anyway, that's about all we got going on. We do want to tell all of our listeners, thank you for being a stepmother or a stepfather. You may not be celebrated on this day, but we celebrate you in our hearts.
That's right.
All right.
All right. Thanks again for listening, folks. Have a good Mother's Day. And don't forget, Stepmom's Day's coming.
So tell your partner what you want.
That's right. All right. We'll see you again next week. And remember, life is good
when you nacho.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nacho Kids Podcast. Find us online at nachokids.com. Until next time, remember, life is good when you nacho.